Starting the broadcast, starting the stream. Hey everyone, this is episode 366 of the OotiniCast. This is the raw version with all the flubs and faults and whatever, and that'll go out raw on Twitch, and then it will go out as a video on YouTube. The edited podcast will go out tomorrow, and that'll be on iTunes and so forth. Hey everyone, we do have Marcus from Working Class Nerds coming back as a guest, and how you doing, Marcus?
Hi.
We're not really starting yet. I'm just introducing you to whoever happens to hear this.
Sure thing.
And let's see. Okay. I need to tweet it out. Okay, and then we'll get the actual show rolling in just a couple minutes.
There was, I was on the beach. I was on the beach earlier, and I thought of somebody to help me with a tip, but I can't remember what it was. Oh, hold that thought. My doctor's calling me.
Okay. Okay, and I'll go ahead and... So I tweeted that out. I'm going to retweet it on my personal account, since we got a moment.
Okay.
Yeah, that doc... Marcus said that was his doctor. He was mentioning it to me what that's about before the show, but obviously medical stuff is sort of personal, so if he wants to talk about it, that's fine. If not, I won't go into detail. But he should be fine. All right.
Sorry about that.
All good?
All right.
Good news, I hope? Or was he just setting an appointment or something?
Well, it's just all the surgery stuff.
Okay.
Hey, Doc.
Yeah.
Can you see it? Can you see all the bruising?
No, I'm not looking at the Google Hangout right now.
Well, all right.
I'm trying to find that.
It's a little hard to make out anyway, Marcus, just because the
lighting?
Yeah, the lighting, and there's also the graininess of the thing. I don't think the bandwidth is terribly good as far as the video goes. Audio-wise, you sound fine. And of course,
that's why we have Audacity.
Exactly, and that's why we do Audacity, is to make sure that everything stays good on that end too.
Well, then should I just wear these the whole time and be in full beach mode?
Yeah, exactly. Go full ZZ Top on us.
Yes.
Didn't they have a song called Cheap Sunglasses? Wasn't that one of their songs?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think so.
I don't know if yours are cheap or not. I'm just saying.
No, I know
the bigger beard and the sunglasses, it just reminds me. All right.
I do have a kind of mind trap-like conversation we could do, but no voting.
Okay.
It has to do with the MMO implications of Final Fantasy XIV running dungeons with NPCs.
Well, you should really do a real voting mind trap on that.
Yeah, I could put one together right now.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, you that's what you were texting to me a few days ago. Did you want to do that next week, or did you want to talk about it this week?
We'll just put the vote up and see what happens by the time we get there.
Okay. Cracking a cold one?
just a seltzer.
Yeah, stay hydrated.
Yeah,
Especially
right.
if you're
I'm on vacation. It's a beer. There's no seltzer right now.
Well, if you're at the beach and drinking beer, then you really have to hydrate.
Well, we were at the beach earlier. Later, we'll go to the lake with the kids and the dog again.
Sounds like fun.
I'm so mad at myself. I had the perfect thing to ask people for a tip for, and I can't remember what it was. I'm such a failure at life. Oh, it was so good, too. Hopefully I'll remember.
All right. Are we all good to go?
Mm-hmm.
All right. And Doc, how about you? Do you need a sec, or are you good to go?
Just give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right, pull is up.
Cool. Alrighty then, let's. I say we get going. My Audacity's rolling. I think you both said that your Audacity's going as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right then, I'll just.
Yeah.
I'll get us rolling. Going in 5. Hi, and welcome to the OotiniCast, the podcast that knows you are powerful and that your anger with Solo must be equally powerful. This is episode 366, being recorded on Tuesday, July 16th, 2019. I'm your host, Chill, and with me is my co-host, Dr SWTOR. Hey, Doc.
Hey, you're so much better than an NPC co-host.
That's good to hear. Although you can at least switch me between tank and heals. So, hey, it works. And we do have a guest. That is Marcus, returning from Working Class Nerds. Hey, Marcus, how you doing?
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
Awesome. And I understand you're not from your regular place, but you're on vacation in Rhode Island. So thank you for coming on your vacation.
Yeah, trying to explain to my kid, my 3-year-old, that Daddy's doing a podcast. She just didn't get it. So I'm pretty pumped.
Awesome. And so how have you been doing anything in game, or have you been away from the game for a while, or how's that working?
Well, I am going through right now all the veteran mode, hard mode ops. I've been, Doc and I spent 6 months trying to accomplish Dread Fortress.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like if you're a hard mode progression team and you're story mode based and your team is ready to jump into hard mode, my suggestion is go directly to Dread Fortress because it's really hard. And once you do it, I feel like it's going to take you a while, but your team will be better for it.
Okay.
And I truly believe it. And if you have a Dr. SWTOR on your team, then you just have them switch to DPS, and then things just get better. But really, truly, we went from banging our head against Dread Fortress for 6 months to now, how many have we cleared, Doc?
6 out of 10.
6 out of 10
Wow.
hard mode ops. Yeah, so, and, we went to Terror from Beyond Sunday, and we cleared it in one night. I think 4 of the people have never been there from in hard mode. The week before we did, I don't know, Explosive Conflict, and then last night on a pub hard mode team. It bothers me just to say the word pub. We went to Dread Palace and cleared the first 3 bosses, which the third boss, I don't know that boss's name. You go to the future and the past.
Yes, okay. I know
Is that Calpheus?
is that the future? You plant the seed, and you got to stand by the tree and all that stuff.
I remember that fight. Yeah, that's a crazy fight. Kind of cool, though.
Yeah, that fight is crazy. So long story short is it's been a lot of hard mode ops and winning.
That's great.
And the last thing is Intisar. He was on your show last episode.
Mm-hmm.
He actually recruited me for a hard mode queen progression team because he said before 6.0 comes out, that's one thing he wants to achieve a win on. So we've also been doing that.
Clean?
The Hive Queen.
The Hive Queen.
Oh, the Hive Queen. Oh, okay. Thank you. Right. That would be... yeah. How difficult is that one? Do you know?
It's pretty hard.
Mm-hmm.
The DPS check is crazy. So our strat right now is 5 DPS, 1 tank, and 2 healers. And the fight is just crazy.
Wow. That is really nasty then.
Yep. So,
That's
that's
cool.
on the M side, which is the right side.
Do they have do you have a semi-tanky DPSer doing ads and stuff like that, or?
Well, no, it's just 5 straight DPS, 1 tank, and
they just kind of deal with it, huh? Wow.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
That's cool.
So that's my story.
That's nice. And you're doing some of this on the road?
Yeah, I bought a new laptop, and for the reason of my old one was just I was filling my old one up with podcast stuff, so I couldn't really do everything I wanted to on it. And so I got a new laptop, so I'm just working through all that. But yeah, if I'm on the road, it's nice having a laptop so you can just play. Because at night, the wife and the kids go to bed early, and I'm usually up until 11 o'clock. And then the biggest news of it all is Friday I have major surgery on my arm.
Oh.
I ruptured the bicep tendon off my radius bone on my arm.
Ooh.
So I have to have that repaired.
Yeah. Yeah, and how did that happen?
I picked up a window at work.
Oh.
And it ripped it off.
It was just heavier than you expected, or just picked up in a weird way, or how does that even happen?
I hyperextended my arm, and I felt it rip off my arm.
Oh.
Probably the most
from the
painful
angle.
thing.
Oh,
Yeah.
That sounds painful, yeah. Well, tendon stuff hurts anyway. Oof.
Yep. So that's going to be my recovery. So
yeah.
I'm playing. So essentially, even though I'm on vacation and at night, I'm playing as much as I possibly can because I'm probably going to be down and out for, I'm guessing, at least a week or two. So.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, are they going to be, is your arm going to be are they going to have it immobilized?
I have no idea.
Okay.
They just gave me this, this giant brace, and I think I'm going to be in the 90-degree cast for a week, and it's going to be brutal.
Yeah,
Yep.
That's not going to be fun at all.
So,
well, I'm glad you're
dying to hear.
Yeah. Having a little fun, going to the beach, and playing some SWTOR. That's pretty awesome.
What have you guys been doing?
All right, Doc, what you been doing?
I've been beating all of the same ops bosses that Marcus is beating.
Right.
Except I'm not doing the Hive Queen at all. I teach on Wednesday nights still, so that's not something that I can fit into my schedule. And I don't know. It's I am not raiding on the Republic side at all. So Marcus is just letting me know how wonderful the stones and white lights are that they throw around.
It's so funny you say that. Last night, I was commenting that it was like a rave party in there because of all the white lights flying all over the place. I'm like, this isn't right.
Right. So I guess you don't actually kill the bosses on the pub side so much as you befriend them and they pass out from all of the rave partying. Okay.
Awesome.
You just OD them on party drugs and then loot them.
That's actually a little more evil than what the Empire side does.
That's funny.
So I'm still working on the gaming frustration research project. My numbers are pretty good. If I could get a little bit more of the online gaming folks to complete the survey. It's really quick. We're probably going to be closing the survey in the next couple weeks and start analyzing the data.
Nice.
So that's fun. I finished the Star Wars book, A Certain Point of View, this morning. And that's just taken me way too long to finish, mostly because I don't get to read for fun too often. But the last 2 weeks, I've really made a point to spend 5 to 10 minutes every day just reading 1 or 2 chapters and keep the book moving towards the end. And it was really fun to experience A New Hope, but with characters that you don't even think about, or a lot of the characters actually fit in the story, and they worked in some of the things that we have thought about them as fans watching the movies as part of their backstory. So that's really interesting.
Yeah.
And I had a lot of fun reading that book. As far as SWTOR, I'm still slowly leveling my gunslinger and my trooper to try to get that achievement for all 8 base classes at command rank 300. And I'm getting closer. I mean, I'm about halfway with the gunslinger.
Nice.
And just before halfway with the trooper, but I'm more focusing on the gunslinger right now. And like Marcus said, for me, since the last time we recorded, I've gotten another clear on Explosive Conflict and Scum and Villainy, and my first clear on Terror from Beyond. Those are veteran
Boomba!
Mode. Yeah. And I mean, what Marcus said about starting on Dread Fortress, I don't really agree with that, because I think most teams will go insane and unsubscribe before they beat Dread Fortress. But if you do beat Dread Fortress because you have no quit in you, then everything Marcus said about the other ops feeling like a bit more relaxed is entirely true from what I've seen.
Okay.
And my Thursday night team is still doing progression on Gods from the Machine, and we have cleared Skyva before. We haven't had enough of an evening left after doing that to work on Isaacs, so hopefully that will happen soon. And just trying to stay involved in the community online and talk about the game. And Twitter's been really fun the last couple weeks, I think, for me. But we might get a little more into that later in the episode.
Sounds good.
So who do we have with us today, Chill?
All right. Japeo is here. Intisar is here. Hey, Intisar. Jay Muscleman, Tay and of course Marcus from Working Class Nerds is all here. Thanks for coming, everyone. I know this is still a very unusual time compared to some of our other normal recording times, so I appreciate the people who can make it. Let's see. So yeah, I've been actually decided, you know, why not? Let's go for some of the other base classes. I did get the 4 mirror base classes to 300, you know, whatever it was, a show or two ago. And I decided let's go ahead and do all the base classes at least. I'm not sure if I'll get all 16 before September. That seems like I'm a little too far away to be able to do that. But I think I can get all 8 of the base classes. So I got my Inquisitor. I took a Shadow to 300, and really like that spec, by the way. It's the middle spec. It's like more the sneaking spec rather than the madness dot and AoE spec. It's very single target, but other than that, it's maybe almost too single target. But I really like it. Other than that, it's pretty sweet, and I like the cooldowns, and I like the stealth, and the damage is really good. So really like that. But got that character to 300, so now I'm working on a trooper, because when I did the base classes, I did a merc, and so now I need to get a trooper up, and so I'm doing my Doctor Doom character. I'm back to him, which is nice, because it's nice to see some of these characters again, because, you know, I spent a fair bit of time getting my Doctor Doom character looking just right, and a lot of credits doing just that, and it's nice to actually get some more use out of him. So I'm enjoying that. He's on Plasma Tech, which feels kind of appropriate for him. and it's not a bad spec either. I kind of like that one too. I actually have 4X with him, and 4X is I think on tank duty mostly. I think I can usually get by with him on tank duty, and then I just spray everything down with AoE. It's kind of the opposite of the Shadow spec. It's like tons of AoE on Plasma Tech Trooper. It's crazy.
I have a question for you, is because everybody has a different valuation on credits.
Mm-hmm.
What's a lot of credits to you?
Oh, for me, even 1 million is quite a bit, because I think like not too long ago I was down to just like 1 or 2 million over my whole account actually, and I've sort of tried to build it back up, and I think I've got like maybe 20 or 30 million again. But yeah, I'm not like Bill or anyone like that, you know, who's been on the podcast who has like hundreds of millions of credits. No.
I understand that completely.
Yeah, though I did do some actual GTN work. Got on my banking character a few times. In fact, I did that over the last few days, and found a couple of things that I thought were good deals. Bought them, turned around, and I ended up buying 3 of them. And I've already sold one for basically the same amount that I bought all 3 of them for. So I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah. How about you, Marcus?
Well, up until we did the ancient threat on Tatooine, I was with you on the whole 1 or 2 million, because I was never a credit. You know, I never sold stuff. I'm the guy that buys the hyper crate and everything just sits in like the collections or the Pack Explorer window. I don't usually sell it because it takes 3 days to sell it, so I'll pull it out of there. I'll stick it on a mule tune just to hold it until the 3 days are over, and then I'll forget about it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then
just long enough for you to completely ignore its existence.
Correct. And so, but then when I did the Ancient Threat, there was a bet of 100 million credits that I couldn't put a team together with all the masks, because you need the Dreadtooth mask. Everybody needs to be wearing that, and you need the what is it? The essence? No, the orb. I don't remember what. There was something else you needed in order to do it.
Oh wow!
So when we did that, I did it, and I achieved 100 million credits. But if you ask Medulla now, he'll tell you I went into his legacy bank and stole it and did a withdraw. But I earned it fair and square.
Nice. All right. Yeah. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. I do plan to at least now get all the base classes to 300. I just don't have time to get the 16 before expansion, but that's all right. I'm looking forward to and it's just a couple months away now, so it'll be exciting to see the expansion coming out, and then hopefully this will take about the right amount of time, and it'll pretty much fill the rest of the time before the expansion. Just trying to grind these levels up, and also checking out the different specs and kind of reminding myself, okay, what do I like about this spec? What do I not like about this other spec? That sort of thing. So yeah. All right, that'll bring us to the tip of the week, and there didn't happen to be any tips sent in, so I went ahead and made one for myself, or from me. So no prizes this week, but if you have any tips of the week, send them to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show for a chance to win a Tonfon or M83R Droid pet code courtesy of BioWare, and an OotiniCast provided Cartel Market pack from the latest shipment, which is basically an ultimate pack from now on. At least that's the easy way to do it. So my tip is, if you're having troubles with your dailies, because maybe there's a lot of other people competing for the mobs and the clickable items and so forth, consider going to the PvP shard on your server. They are quite deserted, and rarely will you actually end up fighting people from the other faction. I actually did this a number of times this week, and there was rarely, it's like where there might be like 30 or 40 people on Ossus, and then even multiple shards of the Ossus realm. When you go to the PvP, it's maybe like 6 or 7, and if you go to the PvP for another daily area like CZ198 or Yavin 4 or whatever, there's rarely more than 2 or 3 that I've found. So I have yet to get into a PvP fight on the PvP servers. It could happen. That's obviously a risk. And I'm sure that's why people don't do it. But if you don't like waiting for respawns, waiting for things to respawn to click them, try the PvP server. That's my tip. At least give it a try. And as a further little mini tip, the /who function and the players on server number that you have, like usually in the upper corner, unless you move it on your UI, it only indicates people on that server on your faction. It won't actually tell you how many people are on the other faction. So you can't exactly tell how many enemies might be out there. But it'll still give you a good reasonable idea of how many people are likely to be out there. So yeah. So there we go. So again, if you have any tips of the week, send them to OotiniCast@gmail.com before the next show. And again, Tonfon, M83R Droid Pet Code, you can get one of those from, and as well as a Cartel Market Pack. So that will bring us to the Jedi Mind Trap. Doc?
All right, so Chill, I just want to say that in my headcanon, you're trying to get a bunch of people killed. So we just have that out of the way.
It's true. It's one of those tips, like the more people actually use it, the less effective it will be.
So you're trying to ruin the whole strategy by talking about it on OotiniCast. Okay. All right, so I was going to not have a mind trap this week, but then when we were talking in the pre-show, it became pretty obvious what I need to ask the audience about, because I was reading through my social media this week, and Kotaku threw an article at me about Final Fantasy XIV letting you run dungeons with NPC heroes. And of course, when I read anything about MMORPGs,
right,
all of my dissertation stuff comes flooding through, and like people play to escape and people play to discover, but then some people play to achieve, and they have to defeat difficulty modes. But to do that, you have to build relationships and be a little bit elitist and get people who are good enough for the challenge at hand to be on your team, and then you have to actually be somewhat friendly with them, or else they'll kick you off of the team, or else it's a one-off team or a pug, and then the team never reforms and you never beat the challenge because the challenge takes months to... Okay, so everyone's with me here. Right. That actually operations and missions of that style actually draw people from very different motivational paths into a single purpose for that hour or a couple hours of the play experience. So when I read a story like this, I'm just, well, okay, so they said a dungeon. Is a dungeon an operation? Is it a flashpoint? I don't play Final Fantasy XIV, but it feels like this is multiplayering the MMO genre. Mm-hmm. And so I was actually appalled and started a conversation with people who maybe play both games, or who follow me, but they play Final Fantasy XIV at this point in their life. And they told me that mode is basically like our flashpoints, okay, where we have the Jesus droid who will tank and heal you to full in one move, and right, also AoE all the mobs. So the only thing you really need to know to win one of our story flashpoints with the Jesus droid in your team is the W key. And if you don't know the W key, I'm really sorry. You need help. So just run through the instance, basically. So I started this poll, and I just wanted to ask our audience who plays SWTOR, should SWTOR do NPC flashpoints in operations with actual difficulty levels? So that's very important, because we already have story flashpoints to get you through, whether you have friends in the game or not that want to run them with you. And it lowers the difficulty. The mechanics are basically toothless, and you basically just get to experience the story. But the reason that this conversation would even occur in a multiplayer game is if you do expand what modes that's available, and if you have scalable difficulties to where you could crank it up to master mode and experience one of these scenarios with Theron and Lana and maybe your romanceable companion. And obviously with operations, you would add 4 more in there, but it would drastically change the reason that you would even play the game. Like, I wouldn't have a friendship with Marcus at this point because I would have never met him because I'm just playing hard mode Dread Palace by myself. So,
Right.
Before we start talking about where the votes are going, Marcus, what do you think about this idea? It's just hypothetical. There's nothing in the pipeline that I've heard about this game, but it's just an article about a different MMO and translating it into our galaxy far, far away.
Well, I think it would be fun to be able to do flashpoints with your companions. First off, I'm just going to say it. Like, if you needed to blast off, a veteran mode flashpoint and you could go in there, I'm not saying like the master mode ones, but if I could go in there and I have 45 minutes to kill and it's like the flashpoint of the day or, whatever, and I'm just like, okay, I got 45 minutes to kill. I'm going to go do a couple flashpoints, but none of my guildies are on, or you're not on, or somebody's on. I think that's pretty awesome. Or even for, Chill, who does the class stories, how great would it be for you, Chill, to be able to just go in there with your companions that you're earning as you're going through your story and doing all the flashpoints? I think it would be cool. I don't think, like, the hardest mode, it would be good, because I think that's taking the MMO away from the MMO. It might as well just be Skyrim at that point if you're going to do that. But I don't know. What do you guys think?
Chill, what do you think?
Right. Well, we do already have it for flashpoints. I'm of two minds about it. I wouldn't mind if there was like a story mode so that everyone could see the story version of operations, but anything above that, I don't think we should be able to just run around with the NPCs at that point. At some point you're just kind of like taking away the MMO at that point. It's just and you are kind of turning it back into a single player experience. But if they wanted to add like a Jesus Droid, story mode version of operations so that people could see the fights, or at least see the bosses, the very basic version of the bosses, and see the actual story that unfolds there, that I would be okay with.
Okay. Well, I think that we already have story mode ops, and for people who maybe think about those as having a difficulty curve, they do, but since really diving into veteran mode on all the different operations in the game, they really don't. And I used to be that person that was the story mode player listening to the veteran mode player who has, I guess, friends who study the game and just sign on and kill stuff. And I would be like, no, you're really, like, that's not what this game is like. I lose all the time. It's really depressing. And so for me, story mode at one point was the best difficulty I could hope to conquer in an evening. But there are so many mechanics deleted from the game and so many mechanics that are not punishing that story mode is really generous, especially with 258 gear existing. Last time I did story mode Temple of Sacrifice, one of the DPS got crushed by a rock during the Underlurker within the first 30 seconds of the fight. And we won in like 2 minutes and 15 seconds with 3 DPS because of what 258 gear has done to the game. So I don't think we need Jesus Droid story mode operations, Chill. But I mean, it's your opinion. I'm just trying to kindly disagree with you here. That we already have that. I think that the only value for me would be if we would be able to do a flashpoint or an op and do like Chemval, Ashara, and whatever the archaeology guy is. Like if you're an Inquisitor, and like load up the team. Yes, and load up the team with the characters that you're supposedly building these relationships with as you do the story. I think that would be super cool, and it would feel a lot like KOTOR if you could do that, because in KOTOR you have 2 companions with you,
right?
Plus your main character that you created. So the results here, not very many people have voted, but we have a 63 to 38 split. So 101% of people have voted that yes, people are scary. So the majority of the people listening right now really wouldn't mind SWTOR doing NPC multiplayer instances. And some of the conversation about that is just that the way you vote to kick people is sometimes unfair, and you get blamed for something other people are doing. And I guess if that happens to you one too many times, then it might really turn you off to the multiplayer parts of the game. And some people question whether BioWare could program competently helpful NPCs to get you through a hard mode op. So that's I would just like to say challenge issued, BioWare, but make an outstanding expansion that doesn't add something like this to the game right now. And if you ever have just add it to the Wall of Crazy. I don't personally feel like I need this. It's just something that another MMO prompted us to talk about today. So that being said, thanks, Marcus and Chill. Let's move along and get to the Holo feed.
All right, in the Holo feed today, a little bit, someone was asking Eric, could I get an official answer regarding macros? This is something that comes up occasionally. They did a pretty good deep dive, only a year or 2 into SWTOR. And Eric even said, this is a topic that pops up every couple of years, so I'm happy to commit some more yellow text to it. It's a pretty good summary, which is to say, put in another way, the rule is 1 keystroke or 1 key combination equals 1 action. And that is the simplest explanation of the rules. That can get a bit complex. If it feels like you're doing something that might be against the rules, your best bet is to avoid it. And of course, avoid things like automation or botting completely, as those type of actions can risk your account. And that's what Eric says. And so yeah, basically, like my Nostromo, every button on my Nostromo basically is mapped to a keystroke or a Control Shift or Alt, and none of them do multiple actions at once. And as long as you're doing that, you're fine. Once you get to the thing where it's going to try to automatically do combos for you and stuff like that, that's when you could potentially get into trouble. And apparently they can sort of they can look at the data and figure out who's botting. There's certain ways to tell if things are happening superhumanly fast, for instance, or with exactly the same timing every time and stuff like that. They can kind of suss out people who are actually using botting programs and automation programs, and they ban them. That has happened in the past. So there you go.
So I can't map the first 20 moves of my DPS rotation to the 1 button on my mouse.
Jump, jump, jump. Yeah, basically one button equals 1 action. As long as you're doing that, you're fine. But if you're hitting a button and it's basically programming in the whole combination for your spec, to do this, then this, and this, and this in the exact right order with the exact right priority and everything, that's when you're going to get in trouble. Let's see, Master Datacrons after update 6.0. So there's 2 things that have level boost components: the Outlander Token and the Master's Datacron. Before, and this is also from Eric. Yeah, it is also from Eric. Before I jump into it, just know that this is the current plan and is subject to change. The Outlander Token. Currently, you can use this token to create a brand new character either at level 60 at the start of Kotfi or level 65 at the start of Kotet. But in Onslaught, the upcoming expansion in September, the functionality of the token will partially change. You will now be able to create a new character at level 60 at the start of Kotfi, or at level 70 at the start of Osis. So that's kind of interesting. So you can either that kind of makes sense too, because Kopfi and Kotet are essentially all one really large story arc, and I guess it'd be nice to have the option to completely skip it if that's what you're into. Master's Datacron. In short, nothing is going to change about the Master's Datacron at the launch of Onslaught. At some point in the future, we may add a level 75 version of the Datacron, but nothing is planned near the launch of the expansion. So there you go. So if you're wondering what's going to be happening with that, there's always these little details that come up with every expansion because, there's more story, the level cap goes up by 5, and people wonder, about these sorts of things. Now,
I think they should create a Doctor's Datacron that makes you level 75. Not really, but
just sometimes.
Just I'd work that in there.
All right. Well, they did give us for Onslaught the projected Warrior and Marauder abilities and set bonuses and tacticals, and now they've also done the Juggernaut ones. They did the Warrior Marauder ones like right before the last show. We didn't actually have time to go over it, so we're going to go over the Warrior Marauder, but also now the Juggernaut. And I know, Marcus, you do a lot of Marauder stuff, is that right?
Yeah, so we can completely forget about talking about the Inquisitor, the Juggernaut, or anything else. We can just take the whole show to talk about Maraudering because it's the only class to play.
There you go. All right.
As long as it improves the Marauder's survivability, I'm all for it.
Yep. All right. So, and of course, they do everything from, in this case, the Marauder, but if you're a Jedi Knight, you can expect to see, the Warrior and then the Marauder abilities transferred over and mirrored. Let's see. Eric says, you may see bonuses which refer to charges. They're introducing new tech in Onslaught, which will allow abilities to have multiple charges, meaning you can use them more than once per charge, and then the cooldown will simply add a charge up to the maximum. And I've always thought that's kind of a fun mechanic anyway, sometimes at least. It gives them more ways to balance abilities, essentially. Because what they can do is an ability can have charges, and then, you can wait for the cooldown, you can use it once, but if you manage to wait a while, you might have the multiple charges back, and then you can use it that way again. Let's see. So, some of these tacticals and so forth are Uber Charge. Force Charge gets 2 ability charges. In addition, you cannot be stunned or rooted for 3 seconds after using Force Charge. That sounds pretty powerful for PvP.
Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, anything that keeps you from being CC'd actually is pretty powerful usually. Sap, after Force Choke finishes, it slows its target and every target nearby it for 6 seconds.
That's spectacular.
That does sound pretty nasty, doesn't it? Especially the AoE aspect of it. It's like, wow, okay.
Well, that's right. So if I'm choking you, and Doc is coming around the corner to take a node in PvP or something like that, and the Force Choke is over, and all of a sudden he starts moving in slow motion.
Yep.
That might allow somebody else to come over and CC him. I think that's great.
Yeah, positioning. After executing Mad Dash, you gain 20% damage reduction for 6 seconds.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, Mad Dash is a really short cooldown too. It's like 20 seconds, 25 seconds. Mm-hmm. That's really nice. That's a lot of damage reduction too. 20% for 6 seconds. Blinding Fear. Enemies affected by Intimidating Roar have greatly reduced accuracy for 6 seconds after Intimidating Roar wears off.
That's meh.
Yeah, it depends. It depends on how much accuracy and so forth.
Well, now we gotta get 120% accuracy on all our tunes.
Yeah, Intimidating Roar, that's like a 1 minute cooldown, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that seems pretty reasonable. Critical Focus. Critically hitting has a 20% chance to build a Furious Focus charge. I don't know how powerful Furious Focus is, though.
That's going to be the new.
That's the new ability. Yeah.
Correct. So basically, that's going to generate the 30 stacks, the way I understood it, or generate the stacks. So essentially, you're going to be gaining your stacks faster with this.
That sounds good. Vicious Thirst, Vicious Slash, and Massacre Add Vicious Thirst stacks to their targets, stacking up to 3 times. Killing an enemy with Vicious Thirst stacks increases your damage by 10% per stack for 10 seconds.
That's huge.
That is.
That could be right at the end of the fight when the boss is at 10% and you just need 10 seconds or whatever left, or 1%, and that could help out a ton.
Yeah,
I mean,
if there's ads, because
right.
you have to kill an enemy to get the bonus, but if there's like ads in a fight, that could really add the damage that you end up doing to the boss.
Right. So the new ability of Furious Focus. Furious Focus has 4 ability charges and recharges every 30 seconds. Activating Furious Focus consumes all charges, causing your next attacks to do 25% additional damage. Example, if you consume 3 charges, your next 3 attacks do 25% more damage. That's insane.
Right. And so that one ability would get you those stacks back faster than every 30 seconds with that critting thing.
Correct.
Nice.
So essentially you're going to be doing, in theory, you're going to be doing 25% more damage all the time in and out.
Potentially, right, because you'll reactivate it every time you get a chance to.
Correct. It's going to become a critical part of the rotation.
Okay. All right, and then some set bonuses. We've kind of already gone over Furious Focus. Set bonuses, let's see, these are going to be the 4 or 6 set bonuses. Smaller bonuses will have more passive bonuses like stat benefits. Let's see, Dispatcher, using Dual Saber Throw with Furious Focus grants Dispatcher finishing the cooldown of Force Charge and making your next Vicious Throw usable on any target. Let's see.
Yeah,
is there
spectacular.
Mm-hmm. Tactical items. There's a new. The tacticals are always interesting to see what they're going to add for that.
So they have the main Marauder class, and then they break down to 3 subclasses of the Marauder.
Right. So just a general Marauder ones. Apex Predator, activating Predation, finishes the cooldown of Force Camo. That's pretty cool.
Yes.
That sounds like a really good PvP one potentially.
Well, and I'm thinking about Doc. What's the fight that has a lot of debuffs that come on that you have to cleanse?
Oh, like the Nephra fight in Dread Fortress. You have to. I mean, it's helpful to be able to cleanse yourself.
Yes.
Just
as an example. Yeah,
Dread Fortress is full of that stuff actually. So that would be a nice op to be able to force camouflage like that. Right.
And Marcus, I usually, whenever I'm playing a Marauder, I take the utility that makes Predation so that it's not tied to the stack thing, but instead you can use it whenever you want, but it has a 30-second cooldown.
Yeah,
is that something that you use?
Yep.
Yeah. That would be interesting.
Believe it or not, Predation saves our team because, in Corruptor 0, when the giant gravity well drops on the ground, I hit that so everybody else can move fast and get
Absolutely.
out of the ring.
Yep. Yeah, I usually grab that one. I also grab the one that actually improves Predation and how much speed it gives. Yeah. So that could be really good for certain fights for sure, for PvE as well. Frenzied Focus. Frenzy builds a Furious Focus charge. Okay, let's see. What's the cooldown on Frenzy? Do you know, or roughly even?
I think it's 2 minutes.
Okay. So it's just another way to get a Furious Focus charge. Hidden Power, Force Camo generates 2 rage per second while active. So if you go into Force Camo, you can come out of it with full rage. That's kind of cool.
I do like that ability, Chance.
Mm-hmm. It's too bad you'll only be able to use one of these. Because this is all, these are all for the tactical slot. So.
Well, I think that's what's, so you're going to, I think it's going to change when you're fighting different bosses. It's going to, you're going to be swapping these things out. Now, I don't know if we're going to be able to keep the tacticals almost stored away in an inventory.
I think you almost have to.
Well, I don't know or do you have to burn off? So if I get Apex Predator and I have it, but then I achieve the Hidden Power one, am I going to have to get rid of the Apex Predator because you can only hold one at a time?
I see. Are they like die stamps or something? Is what you're saying?
Exactly, something like that. To where or
I didn't think so, but now that you mention it, I don't actually know. I assumed it was going to be another because they keep referring to it as an item slot, so I keep assuming they're going to be treated as other kinds of items, full item slots as opposed to dies or whatever.
That's the one thing I'm really curious on. Is because is that going to be just another thing in our cargo bay that we just keep all the time?
It could be. It could be. Hopefully, though, with the for the like the crew skill materials and the crafting materials, hopefully those will be out of our inventory. Because it really does look like we can it's going to be just part of a new kind of storage. So I'm hoping that can be just permanently out of our inventory, but we'll see. I don't know. We don't know how that's going to work exactly yet either.
Or is there going to be like a currency tab for tactical items, and you're just going to have a whole box full of these tacticals across all your characters? We're not really, they haven't really gotten into that yet with us.
Right. All right, and then they do, as you say, have specific tactical ones. So let's see, let's going into the Annihilation ones. So this is for Annihilation spec. Exterminator. Annihilate automatically kills standard and weak enemies with less than 30% health. Killing an enemy this way resets the cooldown of Annihilate. That sounds like a good way to do your dailies. if you can't just slap them in, slap them out, slap this one on, you're going to do your dailies really fast.
I was thinking the same thing.
Yeah. A Rapid Rupture. Refreshing Rupture deals double damage on initial hit. Okay. I don't know enough about the spec to say how good that is, but obviously it's more damage.
When you play a Marauder, what class do you usually play?
Usually Carnage.
Me too.
And it's been a little while, but yeah. Or sometimes Fury, because the AoE's fun. Smashy spec. It was fun, especially back in the day. It's still pretty decent, though.
That could be a cool cosplay if you ever did a Marauder, but do it as Ventress, Dooku's apprentice, because she's pure, she's pure evil.
Right, and she's got the double weapon going for sure. Vicious Saber. Vicious Slash applies all of your Deadly Saber stacks to its target at once and resets the cooldown of Deadly Saber. Okay, that sounds good. Again, I'm just not 100% sure.
We need to play more Marauder.
Yeah, or at least that spec.
I've been working on Annihilation, so because I want to be able to play Carnage and Annihilation, but I'm not proficient enough to know if these are good tacticals that we're going to get. Right. Now, when we get into the Carnage one, that's where it's...
Yeah, so here we go. Carnage. Unstable focus. Using Devastating Blast with Furious Focus causes Devastating Blast to explode, dealing damage to all targets in the area.
One word. Winning.
Yeah, that's a lot of AoE, and I remember in this spec you usually try to use Devastating Blast when your Furious Focus is up, so it's like...
That's the whole point. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, you can use it without it, but it's a lot weaker. So you're going to be doing this anyway, so why not make it, AoE? Making it AoE sounds really good to me. Actually, that's one of the nice things that's sort of a theme about this is, as part of their whole going from vertical gearing to horizontal gearing, a lot of these tacticals are sort of specific to specific sort of fights, like if you're going to be going into a war zone, or maybe you're going into a ranked war zone, so it's going to be an arena, or maybe you're doing an operation and you know what the fights are going to look like, how many ads there's going to be, how much AoE is needed, how much utility is needed, stuff like that. But yeah, the Unstable Focus could be kind of a nice general one to have, because I can see it being useful in war zones, in a lot of flashpoints, in a lot of, maybe not every operation fight, but a lot of them anyway. Hyper. Using Massacre adds hyper stacks to you, increasing your crit chance by 10% and reducing the cost of your next Massacre by 1 rage per stack. Stacks up to 3 times and lasts 10 seconds or until an ability other than Massacre is used. So it wants you to spam Massacre a few times, and like 3 times, and then and then crit with another ability, I guess.
Correct. I think that, potentially that could really work.
Right. Because Massacre is your basic move, essentially, correct?
No, it's like the second move you get.
Okay.
The first move is like Strike, and then the real first move you get.
Right.
I guess the real move that you actually use is Massacre, yes.
Right. But it's the first one that uses Force as opposed to, gaining it. Yeah.
Yep.
Right. And it's called, isn't it in this spec, it's actually called something else usually, and then Carnage turns it into Massacre? It's one of those sorts of deals?
Maybe.
I think
Maybe.
so. All right. Bloody Focus, using Gore with Furious Focus causes this target to bleed. Okay.
Okay, so if I'm reading this correctly, this is basically every time, if you're using this and you use Gore, the target's it's gonna be tick damage.
Yeah, it sounds like it's a dot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got to be a dot. That's how all the bleeds in the game work. So it's going to be a dot for sure. It's just a question of how much, I guess.
Well, I think that's interesting because Carnage is not a dot spec.
Right.
So this would just add a little bit of bonus damage onto everything you do the next several seconds.
Correct. That could be like your what's that one that you always
Affliction.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
just a little bit extra.
And sometimes, like if you're in a war zone, there's certain specs where it is hard to get like a dot on certain people, and therefore it's like hard to, to get them. Like if they're the kind who are going to try to vanish and escape, if there's like a dot on them, sometimes you can get them to pop out of stealth, that sort of thing. And if you don't have any dots, then that can be hard to do. So sometimes dots actually have like a utility function as well.
Right.
Always ferocious. Ferocity is active all the time, but only grants 50% armor pen.
Love this. So for ferocity, you need to click that, and when you click that, that engages the window for you to do the most damage on your most hardest hitting abilities, like Devastating Blast and Vicious Throw.
Okay.
So when those are activated, you do double the damage that you normally do. But if that is always on, that changes your rotation because now no longer do you need to activate that.
Right.
But I want to know what 50% armor penetration means. What is that? Like,
how much is it normally? Yeah.
Right, exactly. I want to know what is that going to do to the damage. So if I'm doing 25,600 damage using the ferocity, then Devastating Blast, but now with the armor pen being reduced, is that going to go to like 20,000? Right. Or is that going to be like 24,000? So that I don't know, but that one's really intriguing to me.
Yeah, anything that changes how a spec actually plays out is always interesting.
I think what we're seeing so far too is every spec needs to basically expect that's going to happen.
Right.
Right. There's going to be some options for that at least. Yeah.
And the more we read through this, how are they ever going to balance this?
They're going to be very busy doing balancing. That's for sure.
Or
September is going to be crazy.
You mean November?
Come on.
All right. Let's see. So let's do the Fury spec ones. Detonate. Raging Burst detonates Force Crush, dealing damage and slowing any enemies in an area around the primary target. Trying to remember which.
I don't do any of the Fury.
Right. Yeah, the Force Crush is like one of the abilities you put on someone, and I think it's upfront plus a dot damage, and so I think then I guess you would if you do Raging Burst, that's when you'd have to have the Force Crush on them, but then it does extra damage and then AOE's it. So they're liking to add some AOE possibilities, which is always nice. Obliterator, using Obliterate with Furious Focus causes it to critically hit. That sounds good, because Furious Focus is, of course, extra damage already. So if you're guaranteeing a crit when it already has a damage increase anyway, that's going to be a lot of damage. And then Force Barter. Furious Strike refunds one additional rage after it hits, but refunds all its rage if you would have fallen to 0. Huh. Okay. That's interesting.
That just sounds like such a nerdy skill to have. Force barter. Like you, I don't know. It just made me laugh when I saw that in the notes.
Yeah, you're gonna have to. Yeah, that it sounds potentially very useful, but I think I would actually be distracted, like trying to get that to come up every time correctly. I'd rather use something a little more straightforward.
Somebody's gonna figure out a perfect combination of 3 moves.
Yeah.
Where that works out and becomes really beneficial. If if Fury is viable in 6.0.
Right. Very cool. So, like, it sounds like you had a couple that you sounded really excited about there, Marcus. But yeah, which one or two of these really grabs you?
Always ferocious,
Mm-hmm.
and then and then the new ability. Those 2 things I'm really excited about.
Right.
But before we move on to the Juggernaut, because I know there's a ton of stuff to talk about, but I just want to make a note that Eric Musco admitted that the pub side is not the correct side, because he said in this post, if you're a Sentinel player, you can expect to see these bonuses mirrored for you as well.
I was going to go there, Marcus, and like as soon as we transition, I was going to point out that the Empire side is the default correct starting point side for this game. Sorry, Republic, you fail. You elect a Sith Lord to run you eventually anyway, and just get over your God complex.
Yes.
That's funny.
Lauren, M side, best side.
You have the best teacher that anyone's ever had because you are a failure.
All right. So to the Jug.
All right. So, Juggernaut. This basically along the same lines. They actually. The actual new ability is the same. It's also Furious Focus for Juggernauts, and in fact, it works the same way. 4 ability charges, recharges every 30 seconds. Activating it consumes all the charges, making your next attacks do 25% more damage. So, for example, if you consume the 3 charges, well, it can have up to 4, but if you consume 3 charges, your next 3 attacks will do 25% increased damage. Let's see. And then one of the specs, this is sort of like, I hate something about the way these ended up coming, it's kind of messing up the notes, but this is the Strengthening Scream is like a set bonus. Strengthening Scream increases your damage reduction by 5% for each enemy you hit. The effect lasts 10 seconds. Stuff like that. So, all right, let's just get into the tactical items then. So Juggernaut, these are the general Juggernaut ones. Higher Focus. Enrage builds 1 Furious Focus charge. So that's Furious Focus, not Rage. So Enrage has, I believe, like it's a 30-second cooldown. It's pretty short like that. So you can get another Furious Focus charge pretty quickly that way. Keep Away. Activating Saber Ward finishes the cooldown of Force Push. Okay.
You can use that to push another thing.
Yeah. I do like pushes.
It's an epic feeling skill.
Yeah, there's nothing more fun in a war zone than pushing someone, off the cliff or into the fire or whatever. That is always fun. Grit Teeth, taking damage while Endure Pain is active, reduces the cooldown of a Enraged defense by 10 seconds per hit. The effect can't happen more than once every 2 seconds. That sounds, actually, for like raid tanks, that sounds pretty damn good. Because, Enraged Defense is really useful, Endure Pain is really useful, and then mobs are not going to be smart enough to not hit you while this is going on. So you're gonna get those cooldown 10 per seconds per hit. So that could be really good for operation tanks. Interceding Defense reduces the cooldown of Intercede by 5 seconds, and Intercede grants 2.5% damage reduction per ally around you after interceding. Okay. Per ally.
I
That
feel like
actually
some
sounds
of those
pretty good.
just encourage the use of moves that you may not think too much about unless you are really well seasoned with the class.
Yeah, and it feels like some of these are really, really tank focused. That last one is very tank focused as well. But I do like the higher focus. The enraged builds one furious focus charge is kind of cool because I believe higher focus is a pretty short cooldown from what I remember. So that's actually quite a few extra furious focus charges. Immortal, so the Immortal spec. This would be the tank spec. Crushing defense. Crushing blow generates crushing defense stacks for every enemy it hits, increasing your damage reduction per stack for 10 seconds. So, yeah, that sounds good. And crushing blow is pretty, it's a regular part of your ability. Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a good one too, because I'm pretty sure that move is going to come up pretty often when you're doing the rotation as normal. So anytime something you're already doing results in an extra good thing happening, that's good.
And tanks are always looking for more damage reduction anyway. Indomitable, using backhand while invincible, extends the duration of invincible by 5 seconds.
There we go. That's nice too.
There we go. Yeah, I'm thinking that's going to be more of a PvP one, but we'll see. Retaliating defense. Retaliation consumes Aegis Assault's damage reduction and grants retaliating defense, increasing damage reduction by 5% for 20 seconds. That's kind of cool because retaliation is actually pretty important if you're on the tank spec. It's at least I found it to be less useful on the damage specs, but you use it quite a bit on your tank spec. So that's actually pretty cool. Vengeance, Bloody Vengeance. When a bleed tick critically hits, it reduces the cooldown of Vengeful Slam by 1 second. That sounds really good,
nice.
actually.
Yep.
Yeah, Vengeful Slam is a lot of damage, obviously, and then bleed ticking is usually pretty easy on this spec. So, Payback. Retaliation finishes the cooldown of Hue and allows it to be usable on a target with any health level, and also causes your next Hue to enable retaliation. This effect, that sounds pretty good too. So you're actually kind of getting an extra retaliation because retaliation finishes the cooldown of Hue and it causes your next Hue to enable retaliation. So you can get 2 of them.
Yeah.
And then Crimson Slash. Vicious Slash refreshes the duration of Force Scream and impales bleeds on the target. That's kind of nice. I'm actually, whenever I'm on a dot spec, I'm always looking for ways to either spread the dots to other targets or refresh the dots back to their full duration or add time to the dots. And so anything like that would always be interesting to me. So if I'm looking at Vengeance Juggernaut, that might be one I would be looking at. And then finally Rage. The current plan is easily mirrored to the Fury options we listed for Marauder. So there you go. So they
play very similar too, so that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
the animations and things.
Right, and back in the day, it was the shared tree back in the day, so that it makes sense that they're still sort of very similar.
I miss the trees.
Yeah, the trees were kind of nice. I understand you're a little short on time, Marcus. How much time do you have?
I've got about 10 minutes or so.
Okay. Yep. Well, we can keep plugging along here. If you need to go, just give us a shout, and we understand. And I hope you have a good vacation and that the surgery goes well. All right. So the Fury were the Raging Burst detonates Force Crush, dealing damage and slowing enemies in an area. So that was the one that adds AoE. Obliterator, using Obliterate with Furious Focus causes it to crit. So we talked about that one, how you're automatically critting with something that's already got a 25% damage increase on it. That's going to be nasty. And then Force Barter, and then that's that weird barter one where if you would have gone to 0, instead it gets you all of your force from that ability back instead. Right. It's pretty cool. That's pretty cool.
Agree.
All right. So, so that's, obviously a lot of these we're going to have to kind of see in practice to see how they go, but they're pretty exciting. So let's move on to Game Update 5.10.4. There's a couple of highlights, I thought. Free-to-play and preferred status changes. We did talk about this in the previous episodes, but basically if you're free-to-play or preferred, From now on, you'll have more hotbars, increased credit caps, unlimited medical probes, and unlimited quick travel. So basically just making life a lot easier for free-to-play and preferred, and also making their experience somewhat closer, quite a bit closer in a lot of ways, to the subscriber way of playing the game. Because, if you're dying and you have to go back to that med bay that's, half a click away, that gets really old really fast. So being able to res in place, for instance, is going to be very nice. Quick traveling will also be very, very, very useful. And so if you're a subscriber, you're still getting the other benefits of getting all the latest content and having it all unlocked, and being able to get your characters up to level 70, having a lot more character slots available, and so on. There's a few, bug fixes. You can move items within guild banks as intended, and so on. The one that sort of was like important for me, because we've talked about it quite a bit, is under classes and combat. Ranged companions should no longer refuse to attack if they are too far from an enemy when the attack action is issued.
Hooray!
Hooray! Now, I'm hoping this is going to fix all the issues, but this is not all the issues that companions have had, really. Yes, sometimes they would refuse to attack if they were out of range. That was a problem. However, the other problems are sort of related to it. For instance, if the fight moves a little bit and all of a sudden there's no enemy within range, they would refuse to keep fighting. They would just kind of stand still. Also, if they got line of sighted, they wouldn't try to move to remove the line of sight. There's just certain sort of related issues, so I'm hoping it's going to fix those as well, but I don't know. Alternately, if they do get line of sighted, but then we issue an attack command, if they then move, that would still be at least we'd have a workaround, other than like putting them on passive and then taking them off of passive when they're close by us. Because that is actually my usual workaround right now, is if I'm in a fight and I realize my companion is too far away and is not fighting, I put them on passive, and the next global, I take them off of passive, and usually they've moved close enough to me by then that they're then attacking again. But it's a real pain in the butt. So hopefully that means that all the related bugs have kind of gone away. We'll see. But even if all it does is, force them to attack and move into attack range when we give them an attack command, that'll be a nice improvement. So there we go. And let's see. And there's always little ones that we can just kind of skip. Let's see. There's some new things on the cartel market, and they have a whole page on SWTOR.com. But I did just want to kind of throw a couple of them into the show notes because I thought they were kind of cool looking. One is the DA AC-1 assault cannon.
That thing is pretty sweet.
It is really, really sick. It is so disgustingly awesome. I love how it looks in general, and then it has like this nice little spinning thing that's clearly meant to be like, a feeder, like an ammo feed of some sort. And then when it fires, the whole barrel is actually recoiling. It is really, really nice. Very, very cool. And the reason I mention it is just because, I've played troopers before, and they're the only ones who can use this type of weapon. And, a lot of them just look like big, bulky cannons, and there's not really a whole lot special about them. Some of them look cooler than others, but this one is actually very, very nice. Very nice.
They've outdone themselves with some of these new weapons and tunings and all the new stuff. There's that new Sith armor set that comes with, the lightsaber and the gear. It's beautiful. Somebody that subbed in on one of the ops teams had it on. It was gorgeous. I was blown away by how nice that armor was.
That is sweet. Yeah, the other one that I actually pulled off of that page and put into the show notes is the Holo Shield weapon tuning. It actually will look different on every weapon. The one I pulled shows that same weapon, so you can actually see what it looks like on an assault cannon, and then the other picture that was connected to, I believe that's a sniper rifle. And so you can see how it's a little different for each weapon, but it's it's a very cool idea for weapon tuning. It doesn't, obviously it's not going to have any combat effect, but just the idea that, because in this, in this galaxy, in this world, if you have ways to shield, it would actually make sense to have a holo shield on your weapon so that you would be better protected. And it just looks really, really nice. Also, in my opinion, a lot of the tunings, cool as they are if you like zoom in on them and look closely, but they're really subtle and a little hard to notice sometimes in actual combat. If you're actually out in the world, just, like the little rat ghoul dripping, or the slight glow from a darker light side one. I mean, that's okay, there's nothing wrong with it, but they're a little subtle, and these holo shields are pretty big and pretty obvious and pretty cool looking. I definitely am interested in getting that one.
Yeah, the ones that change what it looks like to see your character, or just change the sounds in the environment. Like I'm using the one with the electricity that pulses out really far. I don't remember what it's called, but it was on the cartel market as a direct sale about a month ago. And I like that because you can definitely notice when someone in your team has that. And
yeah, absolutely.
So I think that the subtlety was just figuring out how to get these items to work. And now I'm thinking about a lightsaber with a holo shield on it, and how no blaster fire would ever hit that person ever. And just like,
right.
why don't they do that?
Yeah, it looks kind of cool on the lightsabers. I didn't bring those pictures over, but basically it looks like a holographic handguard. It's very cool looking.
Oh, it doesn't extend to like be an umbrella in front of the lightsaber.
It's not, the lightsaber ones and like the pistol ones, they're not huge. They're not really big the way they are with the assault cannon, but they're pretty. They're definitely noticeable. Like they would be the size. Like even the lightsaber one is kind of like dinner plate sized, at least, maybe a little bigger even. And it's not round, but you know what I mean. Just
all right. So the trooper wins this one.
Yeah, they finally get a win, weapon wise. So yeah, there's some really cool stuff, especially if you're into assault cannons and I would advise anyone to check out the weapon tuning, the holo shield weapon tuning. Very cool, and a very clever idea too.
And with the new preview window, it's so much better to preview them.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's easy too.
Exactly.
Yeah, and in a bit of general Star Wars news, just for fun, there was a New York blackout not too long ago, and some Star Wars fans directed traffic with lightsabers during the New York blackout, which I thought was pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Yep, we make the world a better place, everyone.
That was really cool. And they even said the outage occurred on the 42nd anniversary of the 1977 blackout that left the city in darkness for 8 hours. Which, I mean, yeah, it was the anniversary of the blackout, but of course 1977 is also when the original Star Wars came out. So there you go. Pretty happy about that. There's one last thing before we head out. We do have, in our force feedback, someone wrote in with a question. Droid Dreamer wrote, love the show. Thanks in advance for your help with the question. What's the fastest way to get to a PvP terminal? The emergency fleet pass is no good since you have to navigate to the PvP area in the fleet. So he's wanting something really fast. The emergency fleet pass is no good. Since, let's see, Orcon is close since you can zone in. There's a nearby PvP terminal, but there's still some required travel. Is there something faster? And I did say, hey, you can also queue into a war zone, and then you'll automatically have access to a PvP terminal as well there.
Yeah.
And he did write me back and say, yeah, I guess that's true, but sometimes, if you don't want to actually complete a war zone and you don't want to inconvenience people by, entering a war zone, then just backing out of the war zone. I'm wondering, other ones. Intisar is saying Odessan might be fastest, and I think that might be actually a good point, because there is one, and it's it's in that main base, and there are different ways that you can log in. There's the Odessan quick travel, which I think is like 200,000 or something like that. So a lot of people don't bother to get that one, but you can actually unlock 2V and C2 inside the little base right there, and that would put you pretty close as well. So Odessan might be a good way to go, actually. So thank you, Intisar. That was very good. Yeah. Let's see. Anything else then, Marcus? Are you how are you feeling? How's that armor of yours? Is Is it really hurting?
Oh yeah, my arm is killing me, but that's all right. No, it's a
All
good
right.
show, and I don't do a lot of PvP, so I'm gonna take Intisar's statement to true. Say Odesson is the best place to do it.
Yeah, and like I say, if you get different contacts, you can travel to the different contacts, and maybe you could figure out, which contact is the closest, and then just use that one. That might be the quickest. So
that's a lot of work. You can go to the fleet and get on your speeder and go to the PvP section.
Well, Droid Dreamer was hoping for something quicker. So
sorry, Droid Dreamer. Just to wrap up on the Twitter poll, we're at 5644 for yes, people are scary. So
okay.
We still have it breaking that direction, that being able to do some of these things solo would make our community happy.
Right. But pretty close to 50-50, I must say. That's not exactly a blowout. So
no, it's not a blowout.
And yeah, it's interesting. All right, yeah. So that'll still be going for a while. If you want, Doc, we can make sure to get the final numbers next show. I think that might be a good thing to do. And yeah, we'll go from there. All right, then, that's a show. If you'd like to play with us in the Utini Knights Guild on the Republic side of the Satil Shan server, or in our Guild on the Empire
Rage.
Guild on the Empire side, do a /C join Utini to join the Utini channel. Then let us know you're a fan of the show. You can email questions and comments about the show to utinicast@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter using @utinicast. You can find contact details for all of us on our website, utinicast.com, which includes how to subscribe to us using iTunes, Stitcher, and the rest. We record the show live bi-weekly on Tuesdays at noon Pacific. Go to utinicast.com/live to find out how to join in. Our theme song is Doomsday by Jean-Paul Zogby, and thank you to the chat room, and thank you, Marcus.
Thank you, guys. See ya.
Yeah, take care of your arm, and hope that goes well.
Right, take care, everyone.
Wait.
All right, and we'll see you next show. Thanks, everyone. All right, this is where we're going to sign off. We're going to keep the Audacities rolling for a second. Thanks for coming, everyone, and I'm going to be doing some editing. The podcast will go out edited tomorrow, as usual, and have a good one. All right, so I'm going to stop the stream, and we'll stop the broadcast of the Hangout.